Good evening one, good evening all, and welcome to the BritFromOz 2024 Awards, recognising the great, the good, the new, the old and the crap of the BritFromOz in 2024, presented by me! You were expecting someone else? It's the end of the old year, or start of the new one possibly. It's not without precedent for me to get this video out late, so it's time to look back on the past 12 months, as I do nearly every year with this year in review disguised as an award ceremony. There's 28 films worth of content eligible, a lower number than last year because, you know, commitments, but even so, plenty to recognise in this year's awards, of which there are 16 up for grabs. So let's not muck about, let it begin. Now, all around the world, awards are awarded to reward excellence, but here on the BritFromOz Awards, I begin by awarding an award to award a film I found rather unrewarding. Yes, it's the 2024 Turkey Award for my least favourite film of the year. And it goes to Thornley for a Mo. Shut up! Nothing screams wrong about this one, but Duffy Street, where we spent the majority of the film, is quite a cramped location. There's nothing extremely notable about what's featured. I cheaped out on the history a bit. This shot is literally of a hedge, and seemingly reflecting this, the film only hit triple figures last Monday. Fair to say this one fell a bit flat and is one of my more forgettable entries. But never mind, there's plenty of greats coming up. Up next are our new awards, and we start with the Grand New Place Award for the best new location to debut on the BritFromOz in 2024. Not too many new spots this year compared to 2023, a total of about 15 I think. But this year, I'm giving the award to Dargan. Whilst the Bell side of this spot appeared last year, the Dargan side is all new. First appearing in Misty Mountain Steamers, then again, perhaps more visibly this time, in Cara and Liddesdale. It manages to be a very open location, a rarity in electrified areas surrounded by trees, and like it as I did, I used it virtually every opportunity I got, including one that you haven't seen yet. Well, you have now, because you're looking at it. Definitely a location you'll be seeing again soon. So with the Grand New Place Award done, it's time for the Great New Train Award for the best train to debut on the BritFromOz this year. Again, a fair few contenders, as we've had a fair few new locomotives, trains and services make their debut this year. SSR's Manildra service with the new MAN class, Cube's new QE class, the Seas in SSR livery, and a couple of location specifics, K-sets on the Blue Mountains and Horizon on the Great Western. Didn't think I'd see either of those happen ever, but this year they did. Not much new heritage this year, but we did get CPH-18 finally making its BritFromOz debut. But there can only be one winner, of course. And this year, it is the new regional fleet. Yep, you knew this one was coming. It mightn't be under its own power yet, but this train drew crowds along its entire route, despite the late hour at which it was transferred from Dubbo to Auburn behind G514 Graham Cotterell. Certainly a great first look, and a train I'm looking forward to riding when they enter service, even if they will be killing off my beloved XPTs. Right, so we've had the new awards, now it's time for the Long Time No See Awards, and the locations are up first. And this award is for the best location to reappear this year after an absence of over 2 years. A few contenders for the award this year, and East Maitland is definitely the runner-up. It last appeared on the BritFromOz back in 2019, 5 years ago, but taking the win this year is Winjello. Filmed on the penultimate day of 2023 and released as this year's opening film, Winjello for Hogmanay, Winjello remains one of my favourite stations in New South Wales, and it's always a joy to go back there. Like East Maitland, Winjello hasn't appeared on the BritFromOz since 2019, but hasn't lost any of its charm, and that's why I love it. I also visited Exeter on the same evening. More on that later maybe. So now we move to the Long Time No See Train Award. Once again, the criteria for this is that the train in question has been absent from the BritFromOz for over 2 years, so it can't have appeared since January 1st, 2023. Not too many contenders this year. I do tend to see the same stuff all the time. 806029 is our runner-up, having last appeared on the Bathurst Steam Weekend in 2022, but I'm giving this year's award to 2 trains, one for time and one for being a surprise contender. First, the time, which is 3265 Hunter. We had plenty of P-Class action in 2023 from 3237 Lachlan, but with the locomotive out for maintenance this year, the English Express mantle was picked up by the Powerhouse Museum's 3265 Hunter, which made 2 appearances this year in very different weather conditions. Misty Mountain Steamers alongside 3526 and Foothills of Hunter alongside 4501. The locomotive last appeared in Saturday in the southwest, so it's been absent since 2021, and so has our other winner, which is the K-Sets. Yep, Sydney Trains' oldest class of electric multiple unit hasn't appeared since 2021 either, when they showed up in Return of the Ks. It was a fleeting return, as the class was then absent, largely because I reside outside the electrified area, until 2 sets made their way to Mount Victoria as part of the Silver to the Summit tour, depicted in the film with the same name. The class also had a nice history story to tell too, which I could finally cover during the Mount Victoria trip. Truly one to remember, and a big thank you to the Z component of A to Z Photography, without whom that film would not have happened. Now, I cover a lot of history in my films. Less so in the Bathurst volume, so it has been creeping in, but often in other films. This year, we've had history on 3265, the K-Sets, the Bankstown line and Wiley Park, and a bunch of places in the Southern Highlands, courtesy of Highland Adventure. We also had Tempe, Blackheath, and the runner-up for this year, East Maitland and its 4 stations. That was certainly an interesting one. But this year's winner of the Past Life Award for Best Historical Story is one I've been wanting to cover for ages, and it is 631731 Neville Joan. This preserved rail motor, operated by Lachlan Valley Railway, debuted last year, but has made its presence very much known in 2024's releases, even having its own chase film in the form of The Voyage of Joan and Neville. In that film, I covered its history, its story of being a Revenue Service 62720 set, another class I've been wanting to cover for a while, to attract patrol units to a preserved set. Definitely a fantastic story. A big thank you to the set's owner, Carl Marfton, for providing a fair few pointers for that one. 631731 would go on to appear in 5 more films, plus some more that you can see next year. Now the TOTO Award for the wettest shoot of this year. There's no real metric by which I measure this one, but unlike last year, there's 3 very firm contenders for 2024's prize. In 3rd place, the currently unreleased Bathurst Volume 53 Cloudbusters, which you've seen a couple of clips from, including this one, courtesy of Deck the West. In 2nd place, Misty Mountain Steamers. Although that one was foggier than it was damp, it was still very much moist. But the winner of this year's TOTO Award is Elvis and the Express. Thank you very much. Specifically, the Blackheath segment. Whilst the first part of this video, the Douglas Park segment, was comparatively dry, the Bleakheath segment certainly matched that slight name alteration that you totally didn't notice, as can clearly be seen here. The first time I've made a specifically Elvis Trains film since 2019, and it could have been called Every Season of Elvis. So, Nashville, Army, and Vegas. There's a few bits from Douglas Park you can see in the new year, quite a few actually, but I used everything I shot at Blackheath. Not that that was much, given the weather. Next up is the Best of a Bad Lot Award for the film with the most troubled production that still managed to turn out half decent. No real contenders for this one this year, but I'm giving it to Bathurst Volume 48 Sixth Month Shenanigans. Not too much to say about this one, apart from the fact there was some off-screen stuff that really nobbled this one for me and made shooting it a bit difficult. Thanks to the power of editing and the fact that media means you see this stuff down a tube, that doesn't shine through at all. Unfortunately for me, this one will always be attached to that off-screen thing, but it would have been untoward to have given it the Turkey Award for this shot alone, especially given that XP 2013 has now been de-starlighted. Worth the trouble of its production? Oh yes. Now, most of these awards are my own opinions and only exist as a means of framing a year in review in a slightly unique way, but the highest ratings award is the only one based on actual facts and is awarded to the most viewed film as of 27th of December 2024. Now, not to blow my own trumpet, but this year's been a great one for views for me, with every film making triple figures and several breaking the 300 view mark. Some even getting up to 500. We have even had 3 break their way into quadruple figures, which is a first for me to have 3 in a year. In third place is The Runaway, 40 Years of Thomas and Friends, which made 1,239 views. In second place is Manildra Regenerating, with 1,586 views. And the winner? An NRF in Bathurst with 1,728 views. Notably, when I'm writing this, that video is only a week old, giving it an average of 246.9 views per day. I'm not going to do any more maths, but that is probably a record for me. In fact, both an NRF in Bathurst and Manildra Regenerating are in my top 5 most viewed videos ever, at 4th and 5th places respectively. The Runaway, meanwhile, sits at number 8. Moving on now, we had the Debutant Awards at the start of the show. Now it's time for the final Encore Award. Now this is awarded to a site we're unlikely to ever see again, and there have been a couple of prominent ones this year. Runner-up is the Bankstown line, which I visited for the first time since about 2014 to make a video on Wiley Park. Interesting history on this one, and whilst it will be back, heavy rail trains won't be running it. But the Bankstown line was not a close-to-home hitter for me, given by my own admission I barely went there in the heavy rail days, whilst the winner really was. So this year's final Encore Award goes to the Pacific National Manildra Services. Pacific National have operated the grain and flour trains to and from Manildra for years, since the late noughties at least, but come Halloween their contract finally ran out and the SSR Manildra era began. Seeing as these trains had been common runners in various parts of the state, not just the Central West, for years and had been regular features of the Bathurst Volumes too, their absence is definitely felt, especially on the Great Western. Definitely a worthy winner of this award. Bye bye PN Manildra. Bye bye. Next is the A Wim Award, and this is awarded to the best film released this year where I'd woken up that day not planning to shoot it. In both runner-up and winner cases, these were films that emerged from other films. Still, they weren't planned. Runner-up for this year is An Evening at Exeter, which emerged from the same shoot that gave us Wingello for Hogmanay and owes its entire existence to SSR's 3242 dragging its heels quite a bit. Still, Exeter remains a lovely station, even at night, and I could cover its history a lot more thoroughly than I did on my last visit in 2018. But whilst An Evening at Exeter is a worthy qualifier for this award, it was not the winner, because that was Wollondilly Trains. This shoot was intended to be about CPH 18, and only CPH 18, and such a film was shot, but has not yet been released. Though when there's a heritage transfer to be seen and a surprise appearance from an 80 class on 5NY3, you can't really just ignore those if you can grab them, as I could. Plus, this marked a return to Picton, the debut of Canal and Crescent, and included plenty of other stuff which I hadn't planned on getting. So much so that CPH 18's BritFromOz debut blurred into the background. That said, it did get to appear, and its starring role will be coming in 2025. Now this year I've been missing in action a fair bit owing to a lot of things off screen, leading to a couple of extended hiatuses. One of them lasted 2 months in fact. So this year I'm introducing the Better Late Than Never Award for the film with the longest gap between recording and publication. Definitely a large amount of currently unreleased films that will be contenders for this award in 2025, but this year the inaugural Better Late Than Never Award goes to East Maitland of a Morning. This film was one of the last ones shot in a spree of recordings from late 2023 and early 2024, which also gave us Wollondilly Trains, Wingello for Hogmanay, Normanhurst Last Month, the QE debut, and several unreleased films like Greater Sydney Extravaganza, Buxton by Tin Hair, Too Many Menangles, and some others too. East Maitland of a Morning though finally got its release late on Boxing Day, a solid 11 months and 10 days after I recorded it, a figure that would make even the original Gan look punctual, but is likely to be outdone by next year's winner. Nonetheless, the extended production period did the film very well, as I very much enjoyed shooting and then much later editing this one. Also meant I could go fully in depth on that rather interesting historical story. Now it's time for the big ones, my top 5 films of the year in the Takes the Cake Award, my favourite photograph in the Top Still Award, and my favourite video clip from the entire year in the Best Clip Award. We'll begin with top 5 films. In 5th place is Cara and Lidsdale, a surprise entry to my still going Wild West Chases series, more so than the surprise that Wild West Chases is still going. Not too much of a notable chase film compared to some others that have been released and are coming up, but it's still got some lovely shots in it, and I've been wanting a shot of C506 Carinelli in its SSR livery for weeks, and it definitely delivered. Definitely in the top 3 of Wild West Chases. In 4th place is Highland Adventure, a bit of a lowbrow film which was nearly undone by a derailment on the day, but I very much enjoyed making it regardless. It gave me an excuse to visit several lovely Highlands locations, including the first appearance of Where I on the main channel, and first at all since 2019, the first appearance ever of Colwella, and some other favourite locations like Burradoo and Bundanoon. Oh, and this great southern shot at Burradoo was another long-standing entry on my to-get list. In 3rd place, The Voyage of Joan and Neville, a bit of a theme that my top films fulfill long-standing entries on the to-get list, and this one was no exception. Very much a film of 2 parts, divided by 631-731's history, which I've mentioned before, but a very enjoyable chase with a lovely train, I do like that livery, and a lovely part of the world. Plus, I got to cover the history of Rydal in reasonable depth as well, which is interesting too, and all coming together for a lovely film. But it's still only number 3. In 2nd place, Bathurst Volume 43, Dawn of the 5th. This ranks amongst my favourite Bathurst volumes of the entire series. I got so much right here. The expected variety in some lovely lit shots, even some history with the help from the late Leon Rudd, a friend you are missed, and no less than 3 firsts for the series. A V, the first of a few, The Great Southern, and, I never thought I'd see this, Horizon on the Great Western. Easily my favourite Bathurst volume of the 7 I've released this year. Again, it got so much right. But the winner, my favourite release of 2024 and the winner of this year's Takes the Cake Award is... The Runaway, 40 Years of Thomas and Friends. A Thomas model film had been on my to-do list for the longest time, and what better time to do it than Thomas's 40th television anniversary. Several friends and others contributed help, models, music and talent to create this tribute to my childhood and indeed adulthood favourite, which came out exactly as I was hoping and becoming my 8th most viewed video ever. Safe to say you all loved it too. The Runaway stands out as something very special amongst my catalogue, what it was in honour of and as a personal achievement for me, and that is why it's my favourite film of 2024. Once again, a huge thank you to Zach, Al, Kane, Tim, Aidan, Sidra and Edward Gordon-Henry for making this video what it was. This one could not have happened, or at least wouldn't have been anywhere near as good as it was, without the help of all those wonderful people. But we're not done yet. Down to the final 2 awards now, and our penultimate award is the Top Still Award, awarded to my favourite still photograph of the year. It can be a video screen grab or a standalone photograph, and all the shots I've uploaded to Facebook are eligible for this one, regardless of whether or not they've appeared on YouTube. And this year, I'm giving it to... 4105 Chumsayer and 4103 Chumster at Clandulla. This particular vantage point was brand new for me, shown to me by A to Z, and boy did it deliver. Beautiful background, lovely colourful liveries on the train, and brilliantly lit too. The video version of this, which you'll see next year, is lovely as well. Impressive, given it beat this shot of WT27 XPT at Loxley, another long-standing to get that came out perfectly, which has to settle for runner-up. Again, the video version will be out next year, though both of these did appear in Deck the West. And speaking of, our final award is the Best Clip Award for my favourite video clip of 2024. Every single clip uploaded to YouTube this year, probably over 300 of them, is eligible for this award. And of those probably over 300, only one can win. And the winner, my favourite video clip of 2024, is... 8178 Kelso Flyer at Brawongle on Saturday 30th November 2024 with a 5 loco lash up of C506 Karen Nally, B61 Bernie Baker, 4532, GN27 and C504 Raw Power. Enjoy! No, I did. Brawongle S-Curve has produced several of my favourite clips, but the varied lash-up and amazing soundtrack made this one a cut above and my favourite clip of 2024, beating out some very serious competition. Once again, a cut version of this appeared in Deck the West. The full clip, this time without any music or dialogue, can be heard and viewed next year. And that is that. The great, the good, the old, the new and the crap of the BritFromOz in 2024. I hope you've enjoyed the 29 now productions I've been able to put out this year, and I hope you have a safe and happy 2025 where I'll see you for more stories and more videos. Ciao!